Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. I want to talk about Garrett Nussmeier to start the show today. Obviously, a lot was made of his first regular season start, becoming the heir to this LSU offense that Jaden Daniels piloted for the last couple of years. And I'll say that when watching the game, and I tweeted this out, so this is there's a timestamp on it. You can go back and look. In watching the game, I thought he played well. I thought he really did a good job. And so what I wanted to do is go back and check by the numbers, and then kind of document some of the mistakes that he made as far as incompletions and see where the potential issues were. And the story is not altogether different than what it felt like watching in real time, but I did want to apply some numbers to it because objective things translate pretty well. And clearly he got off to a sizzling start. He completed 12 of his first 14 throws. He completed 19 of his first 22 throws. Like, his completion percentage was over 80% until his last three throws were incomplete. Now, the last three throws were really consequential. They were two throws down there trying to score to win the game, and then the interception that ultimately ended the game. LSU had 8 seconds to go all the way down the field and score. I don't think that was going to happen anyway. But before the last three were incomplete, he was over 80% completions. For the day, he was 29 for 38 for 304 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a good stat line. Now, I was able to go into the stat sheet and chop up the throws by distance. And LSU did, as you would expect, a lot of business near the line of scrimmage. Throws at or behind the line of scrimmage, LSU threw 8 of those. He was 7 of 8 on those for 45 yards. Same story on throws between 0 and 5 yards. He was 12 of 13 for 82 yards. So on throws shorter than 5 yards, you're talking about 19 of 21 for a total of 127 yards. That's where a lot of LSU's passing game was being deployed. And a lot of people were irritated by that. You want to stretch the field. You want to let Nussmeier push the ball down the field, and I understand that. But there was an efficiency to what LSU was doing that was working. They were rolling up yards. Now, when you get into the red zone, you got to cash them in. They didn't do that on the first drive. They didn't do that on the drive where they settled for 2 field goals. So they were moving the ball. They just didn't cash in the red zone, and you can't stretch the field in the red zone anyway. Now, on your throws that were a little longer, he threw it 11 times on balls that were 6 to 14 yards, so kind of the intermediate portion of the field. He was 8 for 11 for 89 yards. Like, that's pretty good stuff. And then for deeper passes that were greater than 15 yards down the field, he was 4 of 8 for 101 yards, so not as accurate as you would expect when you try to push the ball down the field. But they did throw 8 passes 15 yards or further down the field. Now, I looked at his incompletions and wanted to kind of dissect those, and there are only 9 of them, so it was pretty easy to do. And if you want to read this, you can read it up at louisianasports.net. I put this together and did that. So his first incompletion was the fade route to Kyron Lacey that he just had a foot out of bounds. It was a great throw, a great route, a great catch. Everything was done well. He was a foot out of bounds. That's good football, just didn't quite have enough room. That's going to happen, but that's certainly not a bad play there. Then you had an incompletion on the 4th and goal play, obviously. That really wasn't play design. That was LSU didn't pick up a blitz. I don't know what the protection was supposed to do, but it was an A-gap blitz. You had Chester and Dellinger in the A-gap. They split, and the pressure got right into Nussmeier's face. He basically just threw it away. Maybe you want him to throw a little bit of a ball that LSU could theoretically catch, but you don't want to risk a pick six going back the other way. It was just a busted play on the protection side of things. So there's one of your incompletions. The next one, the third incompletion of the game, came on that seam route to Mason Taylor, where it just got tipped by the linebacker, and Taylor couldn't catch it. I think y'all remember that play. It was a good route, good concept. It was a good read, and it was a throw that was probably 3 inches too low. but Taylor wasn't able to corral it. So there's a lot of good on that play, but it ultimately was an incompletion. So that's your first 3 incompletions. Your next one came with 2 minutes to go in the half. It was a 2nd and 10. LSU was trying to go down there and score. Xavier Thomas and Mason Taylor both ran hitch routes on the right side of the formation, and Garrett Nussmeier just misfired. This is the first throw of the game where he just missed. And he only did that really twice in the game. One was massively critical, but that was one misfire that he had in the game trying to hit Thomas on a stop route. Then your next one came in the third quarter with 5 minutes and 52 seconds to go. John Emery Jr. hit a big run. Then in the next play, Nussmeier retreated, and he threw kind of in the direction of Lacey, who was double covered, but the ball went out of bounds. It was kind of a play where he bailed out of it, and that's the small critique I have of Nussmeier on a couple of throws in this game. He just kind of got on his back foot and launched it, and in this sense, there was a little bit of pressure, but not a ton. And then a later one, there really wasn't pressure, and he still bailed out of it. He's got to learn to stand in there and deliver the ball if everything's not exactly the way that he wants it. And I think that just comes with experience. You know, he hasn't played a lot. That's just a fact. And it's different in there in the game than it is in practice when they can't hit you, clearly. So I think that's just going to come from experience. The next one came with just into the fourth quarter. It was 2nd and 6. LSU had the ball in the 43, and USC brought 7 on a rush, but LSU's offensive line picked it up. And Nussmeier still backed up and kind of launched it downfield. It went over Trey'Dez Green's head way down the field. He basically just threw it away and gave up on the play, and LSU picked up the pressure. I thought that was a little bit of a gun-shy deal, and that's what we're talking about. Same deal. That happened twice where he got pressure or didn't get pressure and felt it and kind of gave up on the play. So that was another incompletion. And then you've got the last 3 that were the last 3 throws of the game. And this was, to me, the biggest miss of the game. It was in the fourth quarter, 2nd and 8, down there on the 14-yard line. LSU called a timeout for the 2-minute warning, gave LSU a timeout. They come in, they call a read option. Nussmeier boots to the right. Aaron Anderson's right there in the flat. There's nobody near him, and he throws it low and left. And if Anderson catches that ball in stride, he may be able to turn it up the field, get a first down, or score. At very least, if that ball is on target, you're talking about 3rd and manageable. At very least, you're talking about 3rd and 2 or 3. That's being conservative. It could have been better than that. That was his worst throw of the game. So you pair that one with the misfire on the hitch route in the first half. Those were the only 2 throws he made all day where he committed to a route, saw a guy, and just made an inaccurate throw. It only happened twice in the game. And then you've got the desperation play on where he throws the interception. That was obviously a bad deal. So I think if you chart all the incompletions, you've got 2 on inaccuracies, and you've got basically 2 or 3, depending on how you view the 3rd and 8 down there on LSU's final drive. Basically 2 or 3 where he felt some pressure and gave up on the play. But you're talking about 35, 38, 39 dropbacks where you can really only critique like 4 of them. That's a pretty good output from Garrett Nussmeier. Like, you're talking about a stat line when the dust settled where he finishes the night. I'm looking for it. Where's the whole box score? There it is. 29 for 38 for 304 yards. And then he throws for 2 touchdowns. The pick, I don't really care. Like, it's desperation. They're in a big prevent bubble, and Mason Taylor didn't really turn around. Whatever. That play was inconsequential. The stuff that did matter, 29 for 38 for 304 and 2 touchdowns with only 3 or 4 dropbacks that weren't good. That's about as good as you can play in terms of what they asked him to do. Now, if you think they need to extend the ball down the field, push the ball down the field a little bit more, I can get on board with that, and I think you will see that. But the key is that you don't want to toss him in there and ask him to do something that he's not completely comfortable doing in his first career start. It wasn't like there was a ton of pressure on LSU to go get a lot of points really quickly. You come into the game in the SEC championship game against Georgia, and you're down 3 or 4 scores, and it's just like, all right, let's just go sling it. That's one thing. You're in a 1-score game against USC, and your defense is playing pretty decent. There's no need to force the issue too often. I thought that they moved the ball, they created scoring opportunities, they just didn't do a good enough job in the red zone of capitalizing on those scoring opportunities, and that's why you only ended up with 20 points in the game. I think Garrett Nussmeier will grow and develop as the season moves on. I think Joe Sloan will get more comfortable calling plays as the season goes on. That's another piece to this scheduling a tough game in the opener is you don't really know what you have, and they decided to go with a more conservative passing approach. And I thought it worked to an extent moving the football, but it didn't necessarily pay off when they got into the red zone. So that whole breakdown of Garrett Nussmeier's day statistically and some of those incompletions is all posted right now at louisianasports.net. If you want to go check it out, it is the cover story on the site right this very moment. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.